Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. The encounter in Anantnag in Kashmir continues. 3 of our brave soldiers have been killed in action, including a commanding officer, a major, and a deputy superintendent of police. Now, make no mistake about this. The cowardly terrorists who have most likely come from the other side of the border from Pakistan, they have resorted to taking refuge deep inside the jungles in South Kashmir, in Kokarnag, right after this encounter. We need to ask ourselves a very basic and very simple question. Has peace really returned to the valley since the abrogation of Article 370? Yes, the data does indeed point to the fact that the number of terrorist incidents has come down and come down quite substantially. The number of infiltrations has also come down quite substantially. But is the problem of terror really over? Or should we keep faith? Because this problem is not going to be solved in a day or a month or a year. This is going to be a long-term problem which needs a long-term solution. So, is the solution really beginning with that we need to keep the faith, that we need to believe that the Indian armed forces are capable of ridding Kashmir Valley once and for all of this menace of terrorism? But first, the story.
Yeah, I'm also feeling sad being from the same family. And we hope that people who have carried out these things, they will be sorted out soon.
जब तक कोई रास्ता न ढूंढा जाए जिससे अमन आ सके, लड़ाई से अमन नहीं आता है।
आर्मी के चीफ को सड़क का गुंडा कहती है कांग्रेस और आतंकवादी के मन को पढ़ने के लिए प्रयास करना चाहिए, इस बयान की हम निंदा करते हैं।
I want to show you 2 contrasting images, and I want you to focus on this one first. These are images that have come from Panchkula. These are the images from the house, the residence of Colonel Manpreet. This young boy here is his young son, Kabir. He's all of 6 years old. He is saluting his father's dead body, the coffin in which his father's dead body has been brought. He's too young to even realize the gravity of what's gone on here. He's wearing army fatigues. He's saluting his father's dead body. He's there on the shoulders of one of his father's old colleagues. And he's saluting the tricolour draped coffin of his father. Like I said, he's just 6 years old. He's too young to realize what has happened to his family, what has happened to his father. But the spirit of that 6-year-old who is saluting with bravery and fortitude the dead body of his father amidst this sea of people who are wailing, who are in tears, who realize, adults who realize what has happened to Colonel Manpreet and what this means to Colonel Manpreet's family, his young wife and the kids that he leaves behind. They realize what is going on. So this is one image that I want you to focus on. The other image is what we're showing on this side of the screen. This is courtesy our neighbor on the west, where they are using now sophisticated drone technology. You can see this is pictures from the night, so it's a little illuminated, if you will. Pictures from the night, and there's a person literally hanging onto a drone. A human being, an individual, is hanging onto a drone. This drone then transports this human being from the other side of the border, the other side of the line of control, to the Indian side. You can see it. You can see this. There are people receiving this man who's being transported by a drone. Now, the point that this visual, this rather engrossing visual, this rather captivating visual, the point that it's trying to make is that our enemy on the west, the country on the west which believes in bleeding India by 1,000 cuts, whose policy is that terror is an instrument of state policy, is developing technology to the extent where they are transporting human beings. They can carry the weight of a full human body and then deposit that person on the other side of the border. This is new age warfare. And I want our viewers tonight to be very, very clear about this. This is what we are dealing with. This is what the enemy state to our western border is doing. They are physically transporting terrorists and terrorist elements through these human drones onto the other side. So this is a war, and this is a war that's going to continue for a number of years, and we need to have the patience as a country, as a society, to rid this once and for all. So any amount of, facts that are being put forth, or any amount of data that seems to suggest that yes, the numbers have improved, the number of terrorist incidents have gone down, terrorist infiltration has come down, all of that may be true. But you're not going to rid this problem of terrorism coming from the other side of the border until there is a holistic approach and until we have the patience to see this through. So let me now, in that spirit, invite all our guests who are joining us. Shazia Ilmi is spokesperson of the BJP, Dr. Shoma Mohammed is spokesperson of the Congress Party, SP Vaid is former DGP of Jammu and Kashmir. He knows a thing or two about how to eradicate terrorism, the menace of terrorism from the Kashmir Valley. Lieutenant General Satish Dua is former Chief of the Integrated Defence Staff and former GOC of 15 Corps, one of the very, very important battalions and regiments that is, of course, there based in Kashmir. And Arzu Kazmi is a senior Pakistani journalist who is joining us. Let me start with you, Shazia Almi. The accusation against the BJP government, against the NDA government, against the Modi Sarkar from the opposition India Alliance and your political opponents is that you talk a big game. You say Article 370 was abrogated, the number of terrorist incidents have come down, the number of infiltrations have come down. All of that, there is data to back it. But the reality is, it also leads to what has happened in Anantnag. 3 of our brave soldiers have died, and I'm afraid the death toll will go up, is likely to go up. And this includes, by the way, a commanding officer, a major, and a deputy superintendent of police. So there is nothing to gloat about the fact that after 370, terrorist incidents have come down. This is the charge from the opposition. Please respond.
No, there is nothing to gloat about. We saw the most heart-wrenching visuals. And I think all of us found it difficult to see them because they do something to you, because you see the loss of your people, and it only strengthens your resolve, and not just of my party or our government, but also of our armed forces and all the people involved to avenge the deaths of our people. So there is no way one can gloat over something like that. One can only do more than what is being done. And you're right, there is a hybrid warfare in place. All kind of unconventional means are being used, will be used. You just gave us evidence of drones being used. And I actually do believe that it is important to mention that since the abrogation of Article 370 and scrapping of 35A, not only there have been fewer casual deaths, but also in terms of the entire network of overground workers has been smashed. Newly recruited militants have been done away with, and NI has played a very, very big role in finding the money trail. So a lot has happened. But of course, you must talk about all the great things that have happened, but must point out, and this is not the time to score political brownie points at all. It's very unfortunate. The former Home Minister of this country, P. Chidambaram, raising questions on India and Indian policy at this time, taking very little responsibility for all that has happened in the years that they have ruled. And the fact that they just sat on this very, on the whole idea of keeping 370 going, which actually led to the Algawad, the seeds were sown of a separate identity and allow and foster cross-border terrorism. And now to say this, in the midst of all efforts to not just bring peace to the people and to the region, and to work for them, because there are constitutional mandates there, but to raise points on Indian policy at this point of time. Of course, we will answer this, and Anurag Thakur has spoken that there would be a befitting reply. After all, this government has also spoken and acted, and more than speaking. But one cannot at all at this point of time question the government at this point of time. I think political voices have to be the quietest at this point of time, and we must allow for other things and other mechanisms to prevail.
Shama Mohammed, Dr. Shama Mohammed, I don't want to get into this political tu meh, but the data is right there. It's hard data, it's hard facts, it's there right in front of you. Number one, the number of stone pelting incidents. Before Article 370 was abrogated, there were more than 5,000 stone pelting incidents. It's fallen to under 500. That's a 92% decrease. The number of encounters by security forces and terrorist operations have reduced from 539 before 370 to 369. The number of civilians killed in terrorist violence has shown an 11% decrease from 155 pre-370 abrogation to 138. And also, police officers who are laying down their lives in the line of duty has shown a 57% decline from 345. It's come down to 150. This is hard data. There's no politics about it. This is hard data that's been shared by the government in Parliament, right? Now, how do you argue against this? You can say, yes, things like what happened in Anantnag have happened, and that's a reality. But at the same time, the data points to the fact that there's been a substantial fall in terrorist incidents, in terrorist infiltrations, in stone pelting, in civilians who've been killed, and in forces who've been killed. So how do you respond to that specifically, please?
Okay, thank you, Zaka. I found what Shazia Ilmi said at the end, that they should not ask us any questions, laughable. This is a democracy and we will continue to ask you questions. That is our right. Unless, of course, this country has moved into an undeclared emergency. Number two, what you've asked me, Zaka, let's understand that what you said is right. In the Kashmir Valley, it's gone down. But south of Pir Panjal, that is Jammu, Poonch and Rajouri, it has gone up. The militants have moved from there to here. And we also, now there is a wave, it's like Punjab and Nepal, they are coming in. Punjab, from there they go to Udhampur, and from there they've come into, through Valaya Katwa, it's entering, the militancy is coming here. And let's also understand there is a drone technology in which they give ammunitions, arms, all of these things. So there is definitely an increase. I mean, this year itself in April, we lost 5 army personnels. Now, of course, day before 3 of them. So there is, this year itself up to now, 34 army personnel have died and 72 civilians in this particular area. So the warfare has changed. The militants have come here. So let's understand what has happened. Now, for me, the saddest thing is, Zaka, I saw my Prime Minister saying when the earthquake happened in Morocco, his deepest condolences. He condoled them. Yesterday, he was wishing the Israeli New Year to the Israeli Prime Minister. I haven't heard a single word of condolence from the Prime Minister of this nation, condemning what happened and condoling the family. Why hasn't the Prime Minister, in fact, when this attack happened and he knew about it, he was in the headquarters celebrating the G20 success. Then I saw him in Chhattisgarh and I saw him in Madhya Pradesh, very busy on election campaign. Now the Prime Minister of this country needs to support our Jawans in their bad times too. It's not just the good times. Now, if elections was around the corner, I would see Prime Minister in tears and talking about it just like he spoke about Pulwama. I did not interrupt. I don't interrupt, please. Zaka, can you ask her to? Can you ask her to keep on Zaka? This way we can't debate.
You made a political charge. Shama Mohammed, you made a political charge.
I remember.
Shazia Ilmi, respond to that.
Zaka, let me finish.
Yeah, sure.
And 2611, I remember Shivraj Patil was asked to resign because he changed 3 dresses and these people attacked him. And even the media. Today the media, everybody is quiet on the Prime Minister. I want to know why.
So let Shazia Ilmi respond to that. Let Shazia Ilmi respond to that, and then I'll go to our other guests after that. Shazia Ilmi.
Yes, I mean, I can give you all the figures, and I didn't want to do that initially because it is such a sad moment. I think it's tragic to watch the 6-year-old Kabir salute his
I want to
at
ask.
the
No, no,
father's
Shazia,
level.
one second. You've asked a question.
So I don't want
You've
to
asked
go
a
there.
question. Let her
But
respond. Let her respond. Let her
Answer the
respond.
question.
Shama,
So
let her
answer-
respond.
she
Please
interrupted me,
yield.
Jaka.
Please yield.
I
Please yield.
never
Let
interrupted.
let her
She has
respond.
gone
You
now.
asked her a question.
She has
Let her
to
respond.
answer now.
Thank you. Yeah.
From
Shazia.
2019 to 23, 146 security personnel died, which is 56% less. You mentioned about stone pelting. I will tell you all the figures, whether it's different
he
encounters,
wants you to
different
answer to
insurgency
my
attacks,
question,
and all the
Shazia.
after
Do
this.
not
before,
sideline the
but
question which I answered. That means
Shama,
the
one
Prime
second.
Minister of
Shama,
India
one
is
second,
against the,
please.
Jawans.
Not this
She's
way.
not
Not
answering
this
the
way.
question. She's not
Shama,
answering the
please.
question.
You've asked a
Our Prime
question.
Minister-
It's in your interest that you give her the opportunity to answer that question. Shazia Ilmi. Yes. Thank you.
Our Prime Minister has spent every Diwali with the Jawans, and that is what a Prime Minister does. Not your former Prime Minister who uses the Navy and an INS, to party and to have private parties for his family. Please don't even compare, Shama. You will have nowhere to go.
Okay.
So don't.
Let me
and
bring
don't
in
use this
SP
again.
Ved,
And
former
don't bring it to
DGP.
this level.
Let me
Don't
let,
bring it this
let,
to
me- let me
this
let me
level
go to
that you brought
SP
it
Ved,
to.
the former DGP. Ved Saab, again I come back to this point that yes, hard data does show that the number of terrorist incidents, the number of terrorist infiltrations have come down. No doubt, a sense of calm, a sense of peace has come back to the Kashmir Valley 4 years after abrogation of Article 370. But it's also a reality what has happened in Anantnag. It's also a reality what happened to Colonel Manpreet and what happened to Major Ashish. Now, how do we collectively deal with this? Do we sort of mentally and steelily resolve ourselves that, look, this is the nature of this game, this is how terrorism is fought, it's not going to get over in a day or two or a month or 6 months, this is going to be a long haul? Or do we tell ourselves that, as Farooq Abdullah and Saifuddin Soz and others have been saying, that look, unless you talk to Pakistan, this problem is not going to resolve? So, what's the road ahead? What's the way ahead, Bedsa?
Zaka, good evening. First of all, my tribute to the martyrs and their families. See, coming to your question, the political leadership of this country and security establishment must understand this is a covert war launched by Pakistan. You were showing how drones are being used, sophisticated equipment. This is no less than a covert war. And we have been facing this for last 75 years, and India will have to be mentally prepared for a very, very long haul. We don't know, God only knows how long it will continue. We don't see any change of heart in the Pakistani establishment. They may be down temporarily in economic terms, their people may be dying of hunger, but there is absolutely no change in their policy of bleeding India by 1,000 cuts. Coming to the present situation, there's no doubt about lot of I'll see all these parameters. I don't want to be repetitive. There is tremendous change on ground, but then, as you said, it is also reality. What happened there for yesterday? Now, let me take you here. All this is calibrated. The terrorism is calibrated by the establishment in Pakistan. When in after Burhan Wani happened in 2016, from 17 onwards, when we launched Operation All Out, thousands of their cadres were eliminated, and they started feeling the pinch of shortage of weapons. Then, about 2.5 years back, then started the pattern. We have been discussing on the TV how this targeted killing
Yeah.
started, and use of small weapons like pistols. And after that phase was overpowered by JNK police and the security forces. Now, look at what is happening in Rajouri Poonch, and what happened yesterday or day before yesterday in
Anantnag, yeah.
Anantnag. Now, uh, there is a clear pattern that terrorists now are taking to hills, taking to forest areas, and something like guerrilla warfare. look at the way both the places, how the dense forest has been used, and they have avoided the built up area, the towns, the villages, and they have realized that once they get cornered in a built up area, there is no chance of escape.
Okay.
Here, what happened day for yesterday? They had a hideout. That somebody comes with the information. Uh, Sometimes these sources are compromised, and you have the risk that the risk security forces face in a situation like this. Then when when
Okay.
uh, when encirclement is done, when coordinate search operation is launched, generally the officer controlling it has to be purely secretive. No one else must know your movement,
Hmm.
your troops movement, which route you are going to take. It has to be place of your choosing and timing of your choosing. I think what happened day for yesterday, there was advance information to the terrorists about the movement of these forces.
Yeah.
That is why they were able to inflict from the height, from their vantage point, and inflict the casualty to the
Okay.
leadership.
Before
Security.
I go to Lieutenant General Satish Dua, I just want to play out possible reasons, 4 or 5 possible reasons as to why Pakistan is doing what it is doing. Now, remember, India has just very successfully completed the G20. It signified in many ways the rise of India's global stature. And of course, that is something that is rattling Pakistan. You've got a joint statement, you've got the corridor through the Middle East all the way to Western Europe. It's also a plot to try and sidetrack the plans to try and reboot elections in Jammu and Kashmir. Remember, elections are due in Jammu and Kashmir. The government is committed that it will happen in the next few months. This could be a plot to try and sideline that. Also, obstruct the development sort of drive that is happening. You have normal life returning in the Kashmir Valley. You have the shikaras out. You have tourism coming back in big numbers. So this is a bit to try and obstruct that development path by Pakistan after the abrogation of Article 370. Also, perhaps a bit to try and create newer terror routes. As one of our panelists was saying, the latest seems to be coming through Jammu, through Rajouri, through Poonch. There are also evidence showing that some of these terror infiltrations are happening from the Nepal border. This is not something that you saw in the past. This is sort of something that's happening in the recent few months. Also, this is a bit to try and create internal strife ahead of the big elections that are coming up. You have 5 states that are going to polls later this year. You have the general elections early part of next year. So this is a bit to try and create some kind of confusion before those elections. So let me ask Lieutenant General Satish Dua, there are a multitude of reasons why Pakistan wants to do this, and any of these reasons could be true. But the fact also remains, General Dua, that as DGP Vaid was saying, we also need to have secure intel. We also need to ensure that whenever there are encounters, whenever there are counter-terror operations that are happening, that information is very secretively guarded, and ensure that the safety of our personnel is paramount. It comes down to a sense that this is a war that is not going to end anytime soon. This is probably going to take months, if not years, and that we collectively as a society should be ready to bear with the costs of it. Are we ready to bear with the costs of it?
Saka, first of all, allow me to pay my tribute to the fallen heroes and condolences to their families. Before I answer your question proper, let me just dwell on the 5 or 6 points that you played out, you showed on the screen as to why Pakistan is fomenting this trouble. You yourself have brought out repeatedly during your interventions as to how parameters have improved over the last 4 years, whether it is stone pelting, violence on the streets. When I was a corps commander in 2016, when Burhan Wani was eliminated, I mean, you remember the times there was so much uncertainty in life. Today, life it is heading back towards normalcy, and that is not acceptable to the terrorist tanzeems and their handlers across. And that is why they are changing the tactics. In the last couple of years, we saw targeted killings, soft targets, all in the towns, hybrid terrorists who use pistols and couple of hand grenades and then merge into crowds. no longer is that going to happen, because they don't want feeling of normalcy to set in the hearts and minds of people. They want to instill fear, the feeling of uncertainty, and that is why they moved away to mountains and jungles. Because in the inhabited areas, be it towns or villages, it is comparatively easier to hem them in. If you're in mountains and jungles, there are caves. As I have been speaking on a few other channels where I've seen in visuals, and you also have been showing perhaps earlier, there are caves in which the terrorists are holed up. And right across the south of the same Pir Panjal mountains is the other encounters of Punch Rajouri happening, and you just now mentioned about how Jammu region is being activated as well.
Yeah.
So what is happening is that there is sort of there is a linkage between both these. And going to the South Kashmir and Anantnag, see how they have held out for 3 days. It's an occupational hazard. It is sad what has happened, but the fact is, while we are surely going to get them, the army will get them. The terrorists are hemmed in. Time is not, it doesn't matter how much time it takes, but they are boxed in. They are, the cordon is tight. They will get them. This unit 19 RR, whose commanding officer and the company commander have fallen, is a very fine unit. When I was a corps commander, it is this unit which got Burhan Wani. So that will happen. But the larger point is change of tactics is to keep the pot boiling. And we heard the army commander say 3 days ago, a Northern Army commander said that the terrorists are using the route through Nepal or through Jammu. You yourself showed how drones are being used to transport a man. So different things are being used. Coming back to your question, yes, we need smart intelligence. We need to use technological enablers. We are using drones. We are using rocket launchers. We are using automatic grenade launchers. All that thing has started, but we need smart intelligence. We need to rejig our intelligence, not only technical intelligence. We should not forget the value of human intelligence, sources and
Sure.
contact, and things like that. So it has to be a very concerted approach to defeat this. But it is something that's not going to happen in a hurry,
Correct.
because terrorists have the initiative, because they have to just create one incident and the security forces are reacting to that. So it is not going to go away anytime soon. And if you allow me, I'll stick my neck out to say before I end. There's a lot of talk about that we must talk. I hear talk about we must talk to
Yeah.
Pakistan. If there is a talk, if we talk to Pakistan, is there any guarantee that they're going to stop this sort of a thing? I don't think it's going to work that way. First, we must gain an upper hand, a very firm
Yes,
and tenable upper hand before we do that.
All right, I'm going to come to our guests in just one moment. I want to pull away
small
to a
point-
piece of breaking news
just a
that's just coming in. This is exclusive drone footage that CNN News 18 has managed to access. It shows the terror hideout in the mountains, as well as the terrorists moving while grenades are being fired upon them. So clearly, this is footage that is having some kind of a very, very dramatic impact as to what exactly is going on in the deep reaches of these jungles. This is Anantnag CCTV footage. Drones have captured this footage, and you can see somebody playing this footage from their mobile phone, where it's very, very clear how these terrorists are making their moves from deep inside the jungles, and you can see how they are moving even as grenades are exploding right around them. It shows the terror hideout deep in the mountains. It also shows terrorists moving in and out even as grenades are being fired all around them. Ishan Bani has more details on this. He's our correspondent. Ishan, so these pictures speak 1,000 words, even far deep inside these jungles, inside these caves, while the security forces have managed to get weapons to be firing into those caves and into deep inside those jungles. We can even see these terrorists make away. They are running away even as grenades are exploding in front of them. Just walk us through these pictures, and what are the security forces saying about this, because they've managed to pin down their coordinates, they've managed to even film it through drone cameras, but they're not able to bring this encounter to a close.
Well, it's a hard encounter. It's not easy. Whatever we see in cities or in rural areas where house-to-house combat takes place, this is a difficult terrain to make a way towards the top of the mountain. So that is why drones are monitoring the entire move around that particular, belt where they had input about a hideout of these militants being present. And this is where, heavy, shelling is being done of grenades. There are also bullets raining all over that place. And individuals, one can see there's a movement that the person who is operating the drone sights, and then you can also see the person moving through that particular time and that particular point of time when the recording is taking place. There are grenades being lobbed there. There are natural caves that the intelligence agencies had pointed out when Poonch and Rajouri attack took place, that there are natural caves to which the advantage is being taken, and the focus of these outfits are shifting from staying in the villages where they get there are intelligence inputs that are generated. They are preferring to stay in these mountainous areas where there are natural caves, and they want to stay there to stay away from the site while carrying out attack on security forces. But yes, so they were able to generate the input, and there you see in that drone footage that forces hurling grenades there, using weaponry there to make sure that they are able to eliminate those who are responsible for the killing of three officers. Two of them were highly decorated, and one was the SP, who was a very young officer. So yes, there is an complete attack taking place right now. But during the night time, the operation has been suspended. But as you see in the drone footage, that very much there is a hideout. There is a hideout behind these trees. There's a dense tree cover that is there. The forces were led there, but unfortunately at that time there was a heavy firing done from these militants on the security forces who were coming up. They possibly had seen their movement, but now they have been surrounded by all sides by the security forces, and the encounter is still underway.
Okay, Shazia, you've just heard from my colleague about how this encounter is still going on. Yeah, the point is that till this comes to a close and these terrorists are neutralized, you are fair game. The government will be fair game for attacks from the opposition, including the likes of Shah Mohammed.
No, I don't think government should be fair game. The operation rages on, and we've seen unfortunate death of our people. And while we mourn the deaths and pay tribute to our brave soldiers, we must realize that this is not the time. If indeed you have to voice political dissent, I could have done the same. I could have questioned Shah Mohammed and said, do you agree with Saifuddin Soz, your leader, who says we should have talks with Pakistan? Do you agree with Chidambaram right now, who's actually questioning the present policy, which is post-abrogation of 370 or abrogation of 370? Should we question the fact that when it comes to strikes, and which led to a complete paralysis in J&K at one point of time, that there's an 86% reduction in those? Should we also at this point of time raise the fact that when it comes to insurgency and counter-insurgency and all the operations, that there is actually a reduction of deaths of our civilians and of our security personnel? And the stone pelting has come down by 98%. I don't think this is a time to even talk about those things, instead of talking about. And how does Shah Mohammed feel about the presence of Mehbooba Mufti and of Umar Abdullah?
Those
are not the questions I would have liked to ask, but I have first to ask them.
Is this the time to be politicizing? Your leader, Saifuddin Soz, has said we should be talking to Pakistan. I mean, what is the justification of this? Is this the position of the India alliance, that we should be talking to Pakistan while our braves are being martyred?
Okay, I would like to say that I totally agree with General Vaid on few things. One is that he said we should have the upper hand, and I totally agree with him. And in terms of intelligence, that is very important. What I see is a lot of intelligence failure. I mean, we are having repeatedly same things. Now here below Pir Panjal, this area, Rajouri, Jammu, these forests, let me speak, these forests are very thick. We need to have a different way of tackling this. And let's understand that intelligence failure, we should correct from it. For example, we had Pulwama, 300 kgs of RDX next to them. What let me speak. What my question today is, have we found out what caused that intelligence failure? How did the RDX reach there is the question I ask. Let me speak.
Oh my God.
Zaka, can I just say one last point?
So I'm answering. One at a time, please.
Let me finish.
Yes, Shah Mohammed,
Let me just finish, Shazia. So that, of course, and I firmly believe we should not talk to Pakistan because we have been talking to them for a very long time and nothing has come out. We need to be very tough with Pakistan. Economic boycott is very important. We have to see to the world does an economic boycott on them because they get funds for the arms. They get funds to take place. If they did not get funds, this would not have happened. So what I'm trying to ask is, what have we learned from the past intelligent failures? Have we got something out of it? Just tell me, what is the report on the Pulwama intelligence failure? Can you show me a report, Shazia Ilmi? How did the 300 kg RDX reach there? Unless we find out how these things happen, we will be committing for an
Okay, Shazia, final word. I've got to wrap up in 10 seconds.
For no reason.
Shazia, final word. Yeah.
And why did they have
I got to wrap up. Shama, please.
Why did they have jackets?
Yeah, Shazia, how did the RDX reach there? The intel report in Pulwama is still not out. Yeah, Shazia.
So I will not indulge in this shallow shrieking, mudfest, mudslinging that Shama Mohammed wants to bring this conversation to. I will not do that. I would instead ask what INDI alliance stand is on P. Chidambaram questioning of abrogation of 371. The adoring stance of Mehbooba Mufti and Omar Abdullah, who both have questioned abrogation of 370.
Okay.
And conflating of this attack with the intelligence failure of our army and our people.
Okay.
And not our agencies. And not just that,
I'm going to have to leave it at that. I'm really out of time. Sorry about that. But thank you very much to all our guests. We'll see how this plays out. Like I said, the last thing we need right now is some kind of politicization of this attack. What we need is A, that these terrorists be eliminated and that this encounter be drawn to a close. And most importantly, spare a thought for young 6-year-old Kabir, who's lost his father, Colonel Manpreet Singh. Like I said, he's too young to realize what's happened to him and to his family and to his dad. But we do. We as adults do. We as Indians do. And it's incumbent on us to hold that young kid and his family, the young wife of Colonel Manpreet, in our thoughts and prayers, even as we mourn our dead. All right, as we move on to our second segment, I also want to bring you up to speed with everything you need to know about our three fallen heroes. Colonel Manpreet Singh, who was a commanding officer, Major Ashish Donchak, and also Jammu and Kashmir Deputy Superintendent of Police Humayun Bhatt. All three of them laid down their lives while trying to protect this nation. This is their story.
Remember the names Colonel Manpreet Singh, Major Ashish Donchak and DSP Humayun Bhatt as they laid down their lives and made supreme sacrifices while protecting the nation. The three fallen heroes of Anantnag have left an indelible mark in the sands of time. Amid a steady stream of mourners, the crowd witnessed Colonel Manpreet Singh's 8-year-old son Kabir and 2-year-old daughter Wani wearing a camouflage uniform, bidding goodbye to their brave father. A second-generation soldier hailing from Ropar, district of Punjab, Colonel Manpreet Singh led the 19 Rashtriya Rifles Battalion and served 17 years of his life with the Indian Army.
आप कैसे देखते हैं उनकी शहादत को, क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं
I have no words to explain. देख, what more can I?
आपने भी कहीं ना कहीं सेना का बैकग्राउंड रहा।
मैं बैकग्राउंड सारी फैमिली मेरी बैकग्राउंड सेना की रही है।
आप खुद भी
I myself was there in that regiment.
His father also served in the armed forces and passed away the year 2014. A pall of gloom descended Mohali on Wednesday as his family members were informed about the loss of his life, leaving behind his mother, wife and 2 children. His grieving sister was seen tying a rakhi on Colonel Singh's coffin, bidding him adieu.
आपकी तकलीफ को दुनिया महसूस कर रही है। आपने अपना बेटा देश के नाम किया, समर्पित किया। कैसी यादें आप, जबकि आज उनका अंतिम संस्कार भी होना है।
मेरे बेटे की याद तो सदा ही रहणगियां। मेरे पुत ने छुट्टी आना था, आज छुट्टी पहले ही आ गया। लंबी छुट्टी आ गया, मेरा बेटा लंबी छुट्टी करा गया। मेरा बेटा लंबी छुट्टी करा गया। घर आने से पहले ही आ गया। हाय मेरा बेटा शहीद हो गया। मेरा कर्नल शहीद हो गया।
a resident of Panipat in Haryana, Major Ashish Dhonchak spoke to his family 3 days before he was killed in Anantnag encounter, informing them about being a part of an assignment. The last time he called his family, Major Dhonchak was excited to come for a housewarming ceremony of his new home in Panipat. But the tragic turn of events in Anantnag completely shattered Major Dhonchak's family as they were seen sobbing inconsolably, bringing his mortal remains to their new residence.
बहुत ही अच्छे इंसान थे वो, बहुत ही मतलब मैं उनके पास जाता रहता था और पिछले साल उनको अपने कार्यों की वजह से सेना मेडल भी मिला और उनको मेरी तरफ से सलाम और आज के दिन को प्लीज.
Major Dhonchak was posted in Jammu and Kashmir 2 years ago. Just a month before his tragic death, he won this year's Sena Medal on Independence Day by President Draupadi Murmu. The Major visited his hometown few months ago to attend a wedding. He left behind his wife and a 2-year-old daughter and 3 sisters. Deputy Superintendent Humayun Bhatt, a Jammu and Kashmir police officer, was laid to rest on Thursday. Sea of mourners turned up to pay last respects to DSP Bhatt, whose mortal remains, draped in a tricolour, arrived at his village in Jammu and Kashmir's Budgam. Amongst the mourners was also his wife, who stood with their 2-month-old daughter in her lap. As India continues to battle Pakistan's cross-border terrorism, the nation won't forgive or forget its fallen soldiers. Bureau Report, CNN News 18.
So there's a lot of debate around the term Sanatan Dharma, what it actually means. There is a set of politicians, particularly from the DMK and also others from South India, who believe that Sanatan Dharma is equal to the caste hierarchy or the caste system in Hinduism. There are, of course, a large number of people and also politicians from the northern part of India who believe that this is a complete and total insult to the Hindu way of life and something that is practiced by more than 80% of the population of this country. To try and make sense of what this actually means and whether there is actually a north-south divide or whether this is just politics, because some politicians believe and use this for political purposes to pandering to their own vote banks. I'm now joined by Swami Chidanand Saraswati ji. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए. I want to start off by asking you, Sanatan Dharma. What is the meaning of Sanatan Dharma? Because different people are seeming to interpret it in different ways. आपके मुताबिक क्या है इसका असली अर्थ क्या है इसका?
मुझे जो बचपन से लेकर आज जानने और जीने का अवसर मिला, मैंने तो ये समझा है सनातन का अर्थ है जो शाश्वत है, सदा के लिए है और सब के लिए है. इसलिए सनातन धर्म ने जो भी टर्म्स दिए हैं, जो भी डेफिनेशंस दी हैं, जो भी मंत्र दिए हैं, वो सबके लिए दिए हैं. और सबके लिए मैं इसलिए कह रहा हूँ क्योंकि जिस भी मंत्र को उठाकर देखें, अभी अभी हमारे देश में G20 हुआ. जस्ट इट वाज सो ब्यूटीफुल व्हेन वी हैड जस्ट विटनेस G20. और उसमें मंत्र क्या था? वन अर्थ, वन फैमिली, वन फ्यूचर. वेयर इट केम? इट केम फ्रॉम सनातन धर्म. वो क्या है? उसमें बताया जाता है कि वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, the whole world is one family. Then why people are conflicted or why people are not understanding this? In the mantra itself said, I am Nijaha Paroveti Ganana Lagu Chetasam. I am Nijaha. This is for me and this is for somebody else. This is me and this is others. When this separation takes place, then the problem starts. But mantra says we are all one, not only one, but one family. Believe me, this power of oneness, togetherness, allness and oneness is the key. This is the music is needed today. When we say Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, may all be happy, may all be healthy, all. This allness, this oneness, this inclusiveness is the essence of Sanatan Dharma. And we all, whenever we think as a family, we are all one and we take care of each other as family members. इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि अगर ये जो बात आज हम बोल रहे हैं, whatever has been said, everybody knows that, by few leaders has been said, मुझे लगता है कि आज टाइम आ गया है maybe because of ignorance, because of arrogance, or maybe other reasons. Time has come. Time is now that we all definitely start looking India with Indian glasses. भारत को भारत की आंख से हम देखना शुरू करें. जिस दिन हम भारत को भारत की आंख से देखना शुरू करेंगे और राजनीति से नहीं, प्रेरित होकर नहीं, राष्ट्र नीति से प्रेरित होकर करेंगे. मेरी कंट्री है, मेरा देश है. अगर ये मेरा देश है तो पक्का मानिए तो मुझे इसकी मिट्टी, इसके कण कण से प्यार होना चाहिए. फिर छोटी छोटी बातें केवल राजनीति के लिए नहीं, सत्ता के लिए नहीं. सनातन वो है जो सत्य के लिए जीता है, जो सबके लिए जीता है. और सत्ता कई बार किसी को सता के प्राप्त होती है, लेकिन सत्य तो खुद को तपा के प्राप्त होता है. हम रोज
लेकिन जी चिदानंद जी, ये बताइए कि सम पॉलिटिशियंस, खासकर दक्षिण भारत से जो राजनेता जो जुड़ रहे हैं, उनका मानना ये है कि सनातन धर्म का एक अभिन्न